guys, Terry with Computer Pro. Just got a new tool I'm kind of checking out. It's pretty cool. It's an Etherscope NXG. It's called by NetAlly. We have link sprinters and link runners and so forth. And we were looking at the AirCheck G2, I think it's called, because we use laptops and like some Android tools and stuff, but we don't really have a Wi-Fi tester in a testing unit like a Fluke or a NetAlly tester. So we're looking at that, and then I figured it would kind of kill two birds with one stone if I got an all-in-one unit. So the Etherscope it's kind of the best of all worlds. It's their top tool, I believe, and it does the full suite of wired and wireless tests all in one device, which I figured that's going to be handy. So anyways, so I'm just at home playing around with it. And if I go to Autotest, this is just at my house. Now I'm using VNC. There's a really easy VNC viewer to it. I have the unit plugged in my switch and where I have my network closet, and I'm just viewing the screen of it. But this is live. This matches what's on the unit now. So if I go to air quality profile, notice this. So top 2.4 channels by utilization. This should be green. If it's yellow, then there's kind of a caution. It's like stage 1. There's something you should look at. And if it's red, that is like a failed test. This is, I think, a threshold meet, and then red is like something failed or something. So, and bear with me, I'm just learning this. We just literally got it delivered this afternoon, so I just got back from work. I'm kind of playing with it now, but at any rate, look at this, channel 5. I mean, you kind of understand 6, 11, stuff like that, but 5, 7, so much utilization. And so if I go to, well, let me click home here. If I go on, say a Wi-Fi test, and it's got your standard that you'd see in like Android apps, right? Like it shows, your different, and I can't pinch and zoom on here, but on the screen on the unit, you can pinch, zoom, do all those things, right? But by utilization, remember when we were looking at like some of these, like 8 shouldn't be utilized, right? So I click on it and I click on channel details, and they have some really cool stuff. Like there's the statistics, our interferers. That's really cool. So it tells you, the whole thing with Apple and Android, right? Like, Apple locks their stuff down. And so if you want Wi-Fi apps to actually, scout out neighboring SSIDs and APs and gathers some information without actually connecting to it, you can't do that with an Apple product. You have to do it with an Android product. So this is built on Android. It does the same thing. It goes out and it collects stuff. You don't have to be connected to the AP for every test. For certain tests, yes. But anyways, it's got interferers, which is really cool. I click on that, and there's a microwave in use. RF jammers. It sounds bad. I'm sure it's not like an actual jammer device. I have to figure out what that means yet. But I noticed my neighbors really close cordless phones. They're using those 2.4 gigahertz cordless phones. Affected channels 5, which is pretty much right in the middle of this. It tells when it was seen, how many event counts that this pertains to, how long it lasted, and I didn't even realize they must have been using a microwave. So these must be older. What time is it right now? It's 9:24. Yeah, so this just happened. So this literally gives you kind of a timeline of what was happening. Like I know at about an hour ago, just about, there was a Bluetooth device that was affecting this, right? And then they must have jumped on the phone, cordless phone call. Look at that, 47 dBm, 33% utilization of that. I'm guessing of that channel, probably affecting a spread of these. They must have been on a phone a minute and 10 seconds. That's pretty slick. This is just out of the box. I didn't set anything up. It just pulled it, and I drilled down into the menus. But the latest one, there's a microwave that went off. I have to ask my wife or kids. I don't think that was here. I think that was next door also. But it picks up all the interferers with what's going on, which is really, really handy. It just does a lot of stuff. And of course, there's a whole suite of wired tests too. So if you go to, like wired profile. The other thing that's really handy, let me run a new test real quick. So it's pretty quick. I don't think it's as fast as a link runner, but it's close. Well, you know, it might be. But in terms of boot up, Link Runner doesn't have an Android operating system to boot up, so it literally just boots up in like 10 seconds and you're ready to go, or less than that. This takes a while to boot, obviously, but the test itself seems, I guess, about the same, you know. So, but this gives you a lot more detail. So the main difference is you can kind of get all this face info with just a Link Runner, right? But for example, when you drill down in like DHCP, for example, the really cool thing is it tells you everything about it, but more importantly, it gives you the milliseconds. So, you know, how long the offer was, the acknowledgement, the total time. If you look at like when, and you can set all these parameters just out of the box, it pings Google, but you can tell it to hit any website that you want, which I already have a really good idea of what we're going to use this for. But here's what's really cool. If you go to Google, you know how you have clients, especially in, say, the medical field, they have some EMR software, and what usually happens, you get a call and they say, you know, my computer's really slow, or the network is really slow. And come to find out, their website, whatever they're hitting, whether it be QuickBooks Online, whether it be their vendor website, whether it's their EMR Pro, you know, whatever, maybe, you know, some of those things during the day, they get really slow and bogged down, and it would feel to a user that doesn't know a lot about networking that their computer or their system is slow. And usually it's hard to prove to them. Like, you can jump on there and go to, like, you know, yahoo.com or something and say, see, everything else is fast except this. But this really drills down. So this tells you, just going to Google, it tells you how long it took to ping it, how long the DNS lookup took, the TCP connect, you know, how long it took. I'm assuming that's for them to realize that you want some data and start the data sending over to you. That took 204 milliseconds, and then the data transfer time. So if you have a really high data start, or, you know, between data start and data transfer, if everything else is really low, you know, you got 5 milliseconds on your ping, your lookup, your connect, and then you've got a 3,000 millisecond data start, data transfer, well, that's pretty much positive proof that it's not your local network, that is the far end web server, and it took that long for them to, you know, in other words, you got there really quick, and it took X amount of time for them to start giving you the data back. So if it's a bogged down web server, this will tell it and show it in numbers, which is really handy. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool product. Really excited about it. So this kind of tells, the light gray is the advertised speeds, and the bold is what it connects at. So I connected obviously at full duplex at 1 gig. If it negotiates, I have it set to auto. If it negotiates, and you know how sometimes your speed is off on your, if you have an old flaky switch, and you'll see it connect at half duplex, or if you're connecting at a lower speed, it'll show here. And I believe this will light up in, you know, yellow or something, showing that you're not at your highest advertised speed. You can drill down in your switch port. It'll tell you, you know, the model, what port you're in, the IP address. You can ping it. You can do other things with it. Capture packets. I mean, it's just does a lot of stuff. So pretty excited about it. But yeah, that's the cool thing. The biggest things to me, I think, are differentiating by this positively, whether it's a local issue or whether it's the issue with whatever that client is hitting, which is really handy to have that give you an answer quickly, right? The same thing with DHCP, or basically anything. It breaks down. That's the big difference, I think, between the link runners. Will show you this stuff, show you that it took, you know, 8 seconds, or it took 265 milliseconds, but they don't show you, they don't break it down and tell you how long each step took. And that's what you really need to accurately figure out where the problem is. So that's pretty cool. And then the other cool thing that I really, really liked was the fact that I plucked out and saw in kind of a graph what was going on with this interferes thing, right? So I click interferes and it shows me, you know, at this time there was microwave interference. At this time somebody was on the phone. So if you get somebody that calls and says, "Hey, you just put in Wi-Fi and it was just flaky," and you drill down and you're like, "Well, when was it, bad?" Well, it looks like do you have a phone here? And you know what I mean? I mean, it just gives you something to go by, which is way better than the alternative of just resetting stuff and setting stuff back up. So pretty geeked about this. This is pretty sweet. So yep, so that's just my limited experience with the Etherscope, but so far it's pretty awesome. I'm really excited about roaming too. I guess it's really handles roaming, and you can see the roams happen when you're walking around access point to access point. And I believe it'll tell you the signal strength and the noise and everything of when that roam happened and when it dropped off. And so that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that.